Dad, when and where were you born and raised?
I was born in Irondale, Ohio, December 26, 1923.
How did you meet Mom, and did you know Mom before you went into the service?
No, it's a long story. I met your mother. I met her on a church hayride when I was on furlough after I came back from overseas.
Did you serve in, and were you drafted? Did you enlist, and how old were you at the time?
I was 19 years old, and the first time I was called up, I was turned down because I had a back injury and I was in a cast.
What unit was you assigned to, and where did you exactly go, and do you remember arriving, and what was it like?
The name of the ship was USS Argentina. Well, the first night, the second night was great. The weather was good. And then there came up a storm, and I never saw such waves in my life. It's higher than, you could look in front of you, and you couldn't see the ship. It would go up on a wave, and then it would go down, and you couldn't see it, and back and forth. So a fellow told me that another merchant marine manned the ship, and the merchant marine told us when they had the storms like that and it quieted down, watch out for a submarine attack by the Germans. So it turned out to be true. I remember everyone, when we slept in bunks, 3 tiers. I was on the top tier. And all at once, there was a terrible explosion and the ship just seemed like it hit bottom. Everyone is mass confusion, trying to get themselves out into the hallways, and the loudspeakers was on, telling everybody to stay put, and we was all wanting to get up on the top of the ship. So we waited and waited, and things kind of quieted down, and they told us that things had improved and had subsided, and that the Navy had dropped death charges, and they destroyed the submarine. In 2 days we got into Southampton. It took us a little longer because we was harassed by the Germans. They brought in, I don't know how many dozens of trucks to take us to a camp called Camp Lucky Strike. That's where all the incoming soldiers for that part of Europe went into. It was nothing more than a field that had been a garbage dump at one time, because we found all kinds of rotten fruit and stuff like that. And next day they took us down to the railroad station in some little town. That's about all was left was a railroad station, and they were still working on the tracks trying to get it back in shape, and they told us that they were 48 boxcars, and they was going to go up to going to take us up to Belgium. And then we went down to where we were going to stay. It was a girls' school. So I went down, and they introduced me to a gentleman in Federico. He said, "This is your interpreter, and you've got 14 men under you, and it's your job to, when that little train I told you, they would pull these boxcars up there, and they'd bring in 2 or 3 at a time. They'd push them in there, and then they would leave, and they would be loaded. They came from Le Havre, and they would be loaded with PX supplies. PX supplies were cigarettes, candy, chewing gum, fountain pens, you name it. We had it."
If you could give any words of wisdom you'd like to pass on to your family, what would you pass on to your family?
Don't sweat the small stuff and draw close together as a family and draw yourself closer to God. And the older you get, the more you realize that that's really what there is to life. The end should be the finish, but the end is what it's all about. That's the mystery of life, is not knowing the future. And you know what the future is once you get old, but not until.